right, hello, it is me, Christine Diamond, representing Discover Biologics, and we have today Linda, who will be talking about not only the biologics work that she's doing, but also the other modalities, light and sound therapy, and we have a beautiful conversation already, and we'll get started. So I would love to hear, Linda, what you were just about to share of the background of your business and your work.
Yeah, so I represent Evolve Superhuman Wellness. It's a new concept, a new clinic. First clinic opened in Arizona. The concept is designed to expand in a franchise model, and we have created, I'm responsible for creating and designing the healing modalities that go into the clinic. And the purpose of the clinic is to offer the best treatments for regenerative therapies that can give us the best outcome with the best equipment, with the best science, with the best materials. And as you know, we are associated with you, and we absolutely love the raw materials that we can use in our clinic. And what we do, we take all the natural elements that God has given us, that has made available for us, we concentrate them, and we apply science to deliver these natural elements that we find in nature. We synthesize them, we apply science, we concentrate them, and we apply them to the customer. So our patients receive therapies that come from nature. So we use sound, we use vibration, and we use light, and we use food-based supplementation and the best, most alive holographic tissue that is available. And we're very proud to be in your group because is the best in the world. So, and because we offer the best therapies in the world that come from nature, we only align with the best. And so, yes, so the concept is completely new because no other clinic offers these modalities aimed specifically for regeneration. And specifically, I'm talking about sound and vibration. And for me to tell you more about that, first of all, would you like to know more about that?
Yes, we would. And I was wanting to know what led you to specialize in sound and light-based technologies. I'm glad to hear that it came from that source of, nature and what we need, but it still is very specific to choose light and sound and vibration. What led you to that? And then how have those light therapies evolved to include regenerative medicine?
So, the journey that led us to use sound and light in regenerative therapies is from experiential knowledge. So, my background is in science, in research methods. So, I'm very familiar with digesting science. And I worked in an environment in United Kingdom where we applied standard therapies in clinic. And then for personal reasons, I went on a journey to heal myself and work on myself. And I came across these techniques. So I came across a huge array of techniques. I was very poorly a few years ago, and I started working with a naturopath in the United Kingdom. And he showed me how he had a bioresonance device that showed me how my body was dealing with stress. And then from there, that opened the door to all these alternative therapies. So I put my research glasses on and I started studying. And hold and behold, NASA uses these technologies, MIT uses these technologies. These therapies that come from nature are already used in the scientific community, but the information is only accessible to academia because you have to go and read published articles, and if you're not part of a university, you don't have access to these articles. You can purchase each article, but most people wouldn't even know what to search. You're not going to be able to search sound healing. Like, you'll have to use specific words. And thankfully, my personal path led me to discover natural therapies. And now here I am. I design treatments and I have seen the results over and over and over and over again. And look, if it's good enough for NASA, it's good enough for me.
I love hearing your journey to the light and sound therapies. And now with your practice and your results and all that taken into account, how have you been able to be led to regenerative therapies and cellular work?
So, the fundamental principle is to look at the cell. So, when we're looking at regenerative tissue, master cells that contain all elements for life, one of the most important factors to support the regeneration, proliferation of the cells, and the success of the treatment and the regeneration of the entire body is to look at the environment. The environment surrounding the cell has to be just right. Scientists have found that external factors like stress, oxygen level, light exposure, and being exposed to sounds have an effect on how cells can grow and heal. Sometimes even more than the DNA itself. For example, we offer genetic tests and epigenetic tests and microbiome tests at the clinic. And we see a lot of patients, they come in, I have gene XYZ, and I have the BRCA gene, I have that gene. And so their physicians have told them that they have cancer, very, very high probability they'll get cancer. However, the environmental factors that are contained and the information that come from the environment that we also inherit from our lineage are contained on the epigenetic layer of the DNA. So, and this epigenetic layer is affected by the environment. Not only our environment, but the environment of our ancestors. So even if we have a misfortunate genetic makeup, we can counterbalance that with the epigenetic overlay and the environment, because we can nurture our genes, well enough so that the weak factor don't get expressed. So we're still in charge of the expression. And so when I discovered that the environment around the cell has a huge impact on this even cellular communication, then the next step is easy. Then we will talk to the body in the body's natural language, which is sound and vibration.
Oh, I really like that realization of speaking to the body in its natural language at the cellular level and working with it. So I am glad that we're talking about that because I want to understand sound and light therapy on a little bit of a deeper level.
Mhm.
So, what are the key differences between sound therapy and light therapy in their terms of that biological effect?
So, sound therapy, and specifically, I'm talking about a specific niche field called vibroacoustic therapy. So, vibroacoustic therapy delivers sounds and vibrations. So, vibrations are sounds that have a lower tone. We have we have two ears in between our head, and we also have a third ear, which is our skin. So, actually, our skin can perceive lower sounds than our ears. Our ears have a range of between 20 and 20,000 hertz, and our skin can perceive anything between zero point 0.5 and 100 hertz. In that range of zero point 0.5 and 100, this is the vibroacoustic range. So I'm talking very specifically about this range. There are higher sounds, anywhere between 20 and 20,000, that are part of sound therapy that we combine. But what I'm talking about today specifically is vibroacoustic therapy, which is a form of sound therapy. And the most important factor in vibroacoustic therapy is that it provides a calming environment around the cell. So when the environment around the cell is in growth and repair, then our nervous system has a chance to switch from fight or flight to rest and repair. And the second most important factor that is related to regenerative therapy is that vibroacoustic therapy directly affects mitochondria, which are the tiny power plants inside every single one of the cells. They are the powerhouse inside the cell. And there is recent research that has shown how vibroacoustic therapy makes mitochondria more resilient and their oxygen output increases. We conducted a study last year that shows exactly that. So keeping strong mitochondria is critical for regenerative medicine. And this is very well documented in the research. If we can tap into every single mitochondria in the body simultaneously and give them information directly at a cellular level in a way that is non-invasive, non-toxic, and stimulates regeneration, then we give the regenerative tissue the best chance to multiply, adhere, and heal.
Wow, I like that. So the term is again
Vibroacoustic therapy.
vibroacoustic therapy. So when it comes to these discoveries, what are some of the most exciting discoveries that you have noticed in bioengineering, I think I'm saying this right, medicine, and in that relation to bioengineering and sound and light therapies, all these case studies, the people you've been working with, what have been some of the most amazing and exciting discoveries?
So the most amazing is that all we have to do is lie down for 20 minutes. And that completely shifts our physiology and completely shifts the body into tapping into the recipes of the DNA for regeneration.
So
20
just in general, just lying down for 20 minutes?
on the vibroacoustic therapy.
Oh, wow.
So only with as little as 20 minutes, we have significant healing results. Specifically, we found with the research conducted by the company that produces the technology, we found that it increases mitochondrial resilience, meaning despite the environment, despite the fact that we could live in a stressful environment, which we all do, if we just wake up in the morning and drink a cup of coffee, our body immediately switches into a fight or flight biochemistry. And then we get into our car, we get into traffic, we get a little bit of car rage, then we fight with our colleagues, then we get into a car accident, we fight with insurance. And that, biochemically speaking, that is fight or flight, is the equivalent for our biochemistry to running away from a tiger. Now, when the mitochondria are capable of producing more oxygen, more energy, despite the environment, so they become more resilient because we can either go to a beautiful place like the background where you have, but not everyone can escape forever, or we can become more resilient to the environment, which is the case of most people. And we have seen incredible results just with 20 minutes a day. Now, we have taken the results from the study and applied it into our clinic, and we have seen the complete recovery of all sorts of chronic conditions, including the big C. This would be the most remarkable. I've seen complete recovery from the big C. Other exciting discoveries, I mean, it's every day, like every day, because when you speak the natural language of the body responds really quickly. It becomes very easy. Diabetes, lymphomas, chronic conditions, you name it, any chronic condition. Today, since I started this work, I have seen at least 600 people going through bioacoustic therapy and going through the cycle. And I have witnessed incredible results. I can tell you about one story about one gentleman that had an accident 5 years ago, and he wouldn't feel emotions, only anger, and he had face paralysis, he wasn't able to smile. He lied down for 20 minutes during the therapy. He started crying and he started laughing with us. 5 years. He came back the next day with his entire family. He gave us an amazing testimonial. These miracles happen because the therapies are tuned to speak the biological language of the body. And those are non-invasive, non-toxic. It's the medicine of the future. The creators of the technology have envisioned a pharmacy of the future where instead of buying pills, you bring your MP3 player and you buy therapies that you can hear and feel to treat your conditions.
Wow.
So we use the vibroacoustic therapy and photobiomodulation, which is light therapy, to enrich the environment around the cell, calm the nervous system, and give information to the DNA directly to maximize the multiplication of the cells and the success of the regenerative therapy.
That's so beautiful. I love hearing his story too. I know earlier you were sharing about your own accident, and I've been in car accidents myself and all those things, and it's quite a scary situation. And to chronically be living with such tension and anger, and then just to be able to feel again emotions, be able to heal. I also really appreciate you sharing that of the vision of the inventors saying this is the pharmacy of the future. It's not just pills that are not as in tune with our natural state that you just have to keep popping, but actually training your cells to be more resilient. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, were you going to say something else?
And talking of accidents, actually, we have one of our patients. So she was involved in 2 accidents growing up. And these accidents happened more than 20 years ago. And she had a TBI as a result. And most of us, we fall, we hit our heads growing up. We don't even think about it. We don't even realize about the consequences. But when we hit our head, our thinking changes. And our brain lacks proprioception, meaning the brain doesn't know itself. So if there is an area of the brain that is not functioning in the best way possible, the brain will only realize it once it's healed because it doesn't know itself. It doesn't know that that area is not working properly because that's all it knows.
Yeah.
Until you make a shift, you're like, oh, wow, I used to be totally different. I'm so much better now. And so with this client, she wasn't able to remember anything. She would forget the names of her staff that had worked with her for over 10 years. She would forget to pick up her kids. And this is an otherwise healthy woman. And thanks to the therapies, she has now regained all of her mental abilities. She is crushing it in her business and she doesn't suffer memory loss anymore. So I just want to share with everybody that is going to listen to this that there are ways to heal, even if there is a chronic condition or something that seems impossible to heal. We have new ways to look at these conditions from a different perspective, from the point of view of giving the body what the body needs and talking the body's language. So I'm not saying that I can guarantee that everything that every patient that we see is going to be healed, but from what we have seen so far, we have already broken many, many, many barriers of what seems impossible.
And when people are in that kind of dire situation where nothing else is working, and then something works and it's this high class and high quality, that's such a gift. I'd like to talk now about some of the protocols and processes you use for your patients. Are there any specific protocols you recommend for clinics incorporating these type of technologies into their existing services? So this is 3-part. It's the light, sound, and cellular regenerative therapies kind of all combined. How can they bring in specific protocols to recommend?
So what we notice is that when we prepared the patients to receive the regenerative therapies, we make sure that we prepare the patient long enough.
Okay.
So we only work with people that are willing to work on themselves for quite a while. I'm talking a 4 to 6 month commitment. And then applying the vibroacoustic therapy, applying the photobiomodulation consistently, because it's a natural therapy. So you have to have higher repetition, and that will prepare the body for the best outcome. So that's what I would recommend for anybody that is interested in opening a clinic. First of all, come and talk to us. We figured it out. So come and talk to us and don't overlook the preparation part.
Yeah, the preparation is huge. And when patient is able to see that you take it seriously as a clinic owner, you're like, hey, we're in it with you, then there's a more deeper commitment. How do you see these therapies supporting overall longevity and anti-aging treatments? Like you mentioned before the pharmacy of the future? This is a good question to go along with that.
So all these therapies turn back the clock because they tap into the regenerative recipes of the body. So if you're not familiar with this information, I'll tell you one thing. There is no genetic code for aging, none. So why do we age? So when we age, we can see the effects that the environment has on our body. So then when we change the environment around the cell, we can turn back the clock because the cell has a huge book of recipes, which is our DNA. And based on the environment, it will access either fight or flight recipes for survival, or it will access thriving recipes for regeneration. It's like when you see on YouTube, some people that are big meditators and they spend their life in a place like your background and they meditate and they have a wonderful environment and they are connected and they are at peace. They radiate and they look younger because they are younger because their environment is at peace. So every single one of these therapies turns back the clock. And we have seen this with our testing. We have seen this with HRV testing. We have tested all the therapies and we know that they turn back the clock. When the environment around the cell is more conducive of growth and repair, you can also extend the telomeres.
And so with those therapies in mind, so clinic owners who are excited about this and bringing it into their practice, we can talk about a little bit of the safety and best practices. So what are some of the important factors to consider when choosing high quality sound, light therapies, cellular therapies, and incorporating them into your practice?
So the most important thing to consider is to meet where the patient is, to meet your patient when they're at. Sometimes, because we're so eager, we have such a big toolbox, such a big arsenal of good treatments that we want to throw all the goodies at the patient. Now we want to learn to work at the pace of the patient. Like how much regeneration can the patient take in?
Yeah, are they going to be like Captain America and just get injected in like a Hulk? Or are they going to, have some growth over time? And then that's interesting too, because if you have that already set with them, that it's a 4 to 6 month commitment, that's like over those 4 to 6 months, they're bound to see progress over the time that's just getting better and better. How do you help the patients to recognize the improvements?
Well, within 4 months, for example, 30% of your liver cells are regenerated. So they will see changes in their digestion, they will see changes in their skin, they will see changes in the testing that we do, and they will feel better, they'll sleep better. So really establishing a baseline with also self-assessment questionnaires are really good. I always recommend the ones that are tested, so that are published, so they can be used for research. Highly recommend that. And some of these are easily available. Make the patient aware and make the patient tell you what is actually going on when they first come into clinic. We can have a conversation later and make a record of it to see, oh, well, actually, you sleep better. You're not arguing with your wife anymore. You're more patient with the kids. You got a new job. You have a pay rise. Like all these things for people that are not fully in touch with their bodies, because many of us are in this world where we're doing our best to carry out our responsibilities, that we forget to be in touch with their body because it's not part of the survival process. And there is also, for example, if there is trauma, part of our perception of our own body gets numbed. So we're not aware of how much of a bad shape we're in, which is the case with many of our patients. So we gently allow them to become more aware of where they're at and then go with their pace.
So beautiful, because being in the fight or flight stage or state of being, if you don't do a pre-assessment to acknowledge all of the things that were going wrong, and then where you keep in mind what the typical benefits are and do the assessment after, yes, they could notice maybe a few of them, right? Maybe they'll notice like, oh, my gut issues aren't this bad or whatever. But if you do the whole assessment with the patient and then put it all in front of them, then it's just like astounding, I imagine.
And also, if they have pain anywhere in the body, the pain will stop. So that's a huge indicator.
What advice would you give to clinics or wellness centers who are looking to integrate sound, light, and cellular therapies into their offerings?
So I would recommend to educate their clients and their current patients to, first of all, educate them and open their minds to the origins of these therapies and how we can concentrate nature with science and apply it with precision to every single patient for 10x results. So the most important factor is to educate your current patients, because the most popular medical model is a symptom driven model. What's really good in today's modern medical model is that if you have pain, you can make that pain stop immediately, really fast. It's not going to address the cause, but it will address the symptoms very fast. So now, we grow in an environment, in a society where we're used to things to stop fast, and then it'll come back somewhere else, but we are used to that kind of outcome. So the most important thing is to re-educate your current clientele to understand the new perspective of healing, which is a more holistic perspective, looking for the root cause of issues, not just trying to solve the symptoms. And for example, if somebody has a neurological condition or had an accident and is partially paralyzed or whatever, you want to feel pain, because the pain is what makes the nerve endings communicate with each other during the regrow. So if you numb the pain, they're not communicating properly. And so it will delay the recovery. And most people don't know about that. They just want their pain to stop. But if they use vibroacoustic therapy, they can lie down on a table and put on some protocols designed for that issue, and they can have relief from the pain whilst they're stimulating the tissue growth. So there are other ways to achieve the same outcome that actually supports the healing, the natural healing modalities that are intrinsic in the body. Because even with the regenerative therapies, we inject this fantastic tissue, but then it's up to the body to utilize it and multiply it. So we have to interact with the body. So we might as well speak the same language as the body.
Well, you mentioned these devices that people use, and it's laying down for 20 minutes and it's daily. So, are there at home devices for personal use, or do you recommend individuals come in daily to the clinic setting?
So at the clinic, we are very lucky because we are in possession of a very unique piece of equipment for the photobiomodulation, for the light therapy part of it. That is a big therapy bed that can only be experienced in clinic. There is a way to recreate a portion of the therapies in the home. So the vibroacoustic table is portable. And then there are smaller light therapy devices that we provide for our clients. There are online clients. So we have people that come to the clinic, they get on the program for regeneration, and they come to the clinic for 4 to 6 months, depending on what they need to achieve. And then we have people that are based in other states, and we bring the clinic to them.
Which state are you in right now?
In Florida, we have people in Florida. We have people in Texas. We have people, let me think, I think in Utah as well.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Just getting my mind going on like those home concierge where they have portable health visits. That's really
It's exactly our model. We are a concierge clinic.
Mhm.
So it requires, our methods require more time because we do it properly. You hear stories, oh, I've done some regenerative therapies, and it's a mixed bag. Some people have success, some people don't have success. And why is that? It's like showing up for an exam. One person prepares and the other one doesn't. Who do you think is going to have more success? So we prepare you for your exam so that you have the best success. And we are very, very passionate about it. Very passionate.
I love that. And I think there's such a beautiful trust that can happen between the clinician and the patient when there is that care taken to really individually make a plan for them and carry it through. So as far as some takeaways here, what is one thing that you wish more people understood about sound, light, and regenerative therapies?
The number one thing I would love to, if there's only one thing people will remember about this, is that it's very important to see where your patients are at. What are their stress levels? What else is going on in their lives? Because that gives a full 360-degree picture or holistic picture that can allow us to understand how to work with them in the best way. 95% of the clinics never ask the patient how they're doing, what's their emotional state, what else is going on in their life. Knowing the context is extremely important, extremely important. I never had a physician that asked me how I'm doing, and our patients act quite surprised, but like happily surprised, because somebody is open and willing to listen to them and really just listen. It's not one size fits all. We're all individuals. So everything needs to be tailored to each patient, and really just paying attention to the detail of how they're doing, what's going on in the rest of their lives.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, Linda, because even though our modalities and therapies are turning more to holistic or naturopathic side of healthcare and wellness, the healthcare practice of still just being like, here's the symptom, here, let me solve it, is still so ingrained because, you could have someone come into a clinic and they have one symptom they're coming in for, they get the sound and light therapy and cellular therapies, and they're feeling better, and then bye bye. They're not like asked again, how are you? What else is going on in your life? And that question is about truly looking at the person as a whole. And
Yes,
true holistic healthcare considers how is this human being functioning in their life.
exactly. I wish that every person that is looking to open a clinic and offer regenerative therapies, first of all, talk to us because we're happy to support you. And also, I wish for every single one that opens their clinic to have their clinic as the social center of their community, where people come in to feel safe, nurtured. This is what we get to experience every day in the clinic, because we designed the therapies and the environment, and we also used natural elements to create a relaxing space that people are looking forward to come to. You'll have less cancellations, you'll have 100% positive reviews only if you take care of them. It's like going to your favorite hairdresser. We go to our favorite hairdresser because it feels nice. We get our cup of tea, we can have a chat, like we connect with the person. We can get a haircut
Yeah.
anyway, right? So what really makes the difference is you. So you, as the person that is about to open a regenerative therapy clinic, you are the unique selling point. Every person that is going to open a clinic already has a flock of people that are their people, and they have a specific way of looking at life, and they will attract their specific clients. You
Mhm.
And the second thing I would love to recommend is that the work we do in the clinic mirrors the personal work of evolution that we have with ourselves as practitioners. Walking the talk is really important because we communicate mostly without our words. Our words are only 7% of our communication, but our stance, how we come across, that's the most important thing, and that's our signature. So for us to be ambassadors of regenerative therapies, we have to learn to shine from within.
Yes, and that space you were talking about creating for the patients, if you're walking the walk, then as a leader, I imagine then it ripples into everyone who's a part of the team. And so
Yes.
everyone at the clinic level, if they are feeling like they're in their thriving state of being and not in a stressful state, then they can easily more convey that energy to all of the patients and the
If
clinic.
we have staff in the clinic that is stressed out, sick, unwell, we send them to do therapies.
Yeah,
They have to take care of themselves. It's
yeah,
the job.
that is so important. I love that you emphasize that. So, how can people learn more about your work and experience these therapies firsthand?
You can visit us in our clinic in Arizona. It's called Evolve Superhuman Wellness. And the website is Evolve, as in I for indigo, V for Victor, O for Oscar, L for Lima, B for Victor, evolvesuperhuman.com.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. Is there any last bit of advice you'd like to give someone when considering these therapies who's unsure where to start and what to do next?
To offer the therapies or to receive the therapies?
To offer them.
To offer them, well, be reassured that you're working with the best. We have very big peace of mind because all the tissue that we receive is scrutinized, and there's it's highly regulated and is the best. So really, that's a big peace of mind. It's like buying a car that is going to run well for many years and is going to be safe for you. Yeah. And definitely educate your community. So prepare your community to these new concepts. If you need resources and support, we're here to help.